Is there something in your life that's just not working, but like it keep coming up, whether it's a behavior or a person or a mindset or just something that just keeps showing up in your life, and like every time it shows up you're just like, what is this? Or you don't even know that you can question it. Okay, a lot of times this happens in our relationships, it happens in our jobs, it happens a lot with our mindsets, especially the way that we talk to ourselves about ourselves. All kinds of unhealthiness going on in there, right? And so the idea is, would you give yourself permission to release something, like let it go? Whether it be that relationship or, again, that mindset or that job or that habit that you have, are you willing to give yourself permission to let it go so that you can make room in your life for something that does serve you, for something that nourishes you, for something that actually gets you what you want, for something that you've been waiting for? Are you willing to have the courage to say no to whatever that old thing is so that you have room to say yes to whatever you calling in? That's what we talking about today, okay? Let's get in it, right? Hey there, welcome to SOURCETV, where we give you the tools that you need to live your best life. My name is Tamelia Williams. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and today we are going to talk about releasing what is no longer serving you, okay? Now, some of you may have heard this saying and be like, what does that mean? Release what's no longer serving me, okay? So firstly, you got to build up some awareness of what's no longer serving you. So when we say no longer serving you, I mean like what is causing distress, what is causing chaos. My mama always says if it causes chaos and confusion, it's got to go. That kind of stuff, okay? That can be really in any area of your life. It can be at your job, it can be in your relationships, it can be in your own mindset as far as like how you talk to you or some of the personal habits that you have in your life. There can be certain habits or things that you do or patterns that you are consciously or unconsciously participating in that are just not giving you what you want or what you need from life. Okay, it's either causing distress in your relationships with other people, it's causing distress within you internally, it's just not giving you what you want. And no matter how you try to approach it, like, okay, what if I come at this relationship from this perspective? Nope, that don't work. What if I come at this relationship from this perspective? Nope, that's still not working. Like it's that kind of stuff. It's like no matter how you try to approach it, it just doesn't really contribute in a healthy way to your life. Okay, and it's good to usually like look at this from the perspective of like the different segments of your life. Okay, so start with your job, then go to family and friends. It's another segment. A third segment could be your relationships, like romantic relationships. I'd keep that separate from familial and friendship relationships. So romantic relationships versus family and friends. And then you can look at like your own personal habits, such as self-care, finances, things of that nature. Like break it down a little bit. If you're a parent, you may want to have a segment for that. If you own your own business, maybe have a segment for that. Like really kind of compartmentalize your life. Like let's just separate it out a little bit, because I think that would help you kind of take it in bite-sized pieces. Because if we try to ask the question like what's not serving me on this big huge grand scale of the totality of your life, that may be a little bit overwhelming, and we're not signing up for overwhelm. Okay, break your life down into segments. Okay, see what areas of life you need to focus in on, and then in each one of those identify for yourself what's not working. Okay, if it's your finances, okay, and you recognize what's not working for you is that you don't have enough of it, right? Write that down. if it's your relationship and you find that, like, let's say you're single and you're dating, but you keep meeting the same person over and over again, write that down, okay? Something about those things like is not serving you, okay? So take time, pause the video for a moment, write down each of the segments or identify the segments for yourself, and then write down what's not serving you, what's not good, what's not helpful, what's not nourishing, what you don't feel good about in those places. And we're going to talk about how to release those or change or shift those aspects in your life. Okay. So once you have that, then we really want to just take it one step at a time. And this is really why we started with awareness, because if you can build awareness about what's not serving you, then you can ask yourself if you truly have the courage to change those things. And if so, what needs to change? Because sometimes it's just a shift. Sometimes you need to light that shit on fire and throw it out the window. Okay. It just kind of depends on what it is, right? So what will happen is a lot of times in these different segments of our life, something won't be working well for us and we'll just cope with it. Okay. I personally am not here for long-term coping. Okay. I appreciate and utilize coping in the moment temporarily when it's necessary. But when coping with unhappiness or distress or unfulfillment or unhealthy relationships, dynamics, mindsets, whatever it may be, whenever you're coping with that constantly and it's a lifestyle, then that's unhealthy. Okay. What you could do is transform how that shows up in your life as you have the availability and the tools to do so, and set yourself free from that which you were coping with in the first place. Therefore, you don't need the coping, because coping take a lot of energy. Okay. And so when I say coping, what I mean is like we all have coping mechanisms. So if something traumatic happens, usually our bodies go into shock, and then our brains will kind of categorize it in such a way to just help us cope with it for the moment, so the situation isn't so intense. But then you find yourself never actually going back and dealing with that trauma because you just coped with it, and so you continue to need the coping. So a lot of people kind of in the long term will turn to like drugs, alcohol, sex, money, gambling, other people, chaos, trauma, that kind of stuff, distress, irrational thinking. And that becomes a lifestyle because the person doesn't have the tools or the capacity to be able to pause for a moment, interrupt the coping cycles, and do something new, like make room for new tools. Now, the reason why a lot of us do this is because we're taught that life is supposed to be like that. Okay, we're taught that like relationships are supposed to be hard, and you're like, who likes their job? No one's supposed to like their job, or whatever else. Lies. Okay, life is that way because we believe and we keep teaching each other that life is supposed to be that way. And what if it's not? Okay, what if that's just the way it's always been done? What if that's just the dysfunction that we're passing along to each other, calling it life? Ew. So you get to take your power back from that. You get to take a moment, pause, sit with yourself, build up some awareness. Okay, look at the different areas of your life, and there is going to be a linked workbook or worksheet in the description box below that you can print out and utilize and kind of follow through with this if you want to. But identify the different areas of your life, whether it be your family, your job, your own internal processes or mindsets, your finances, your business, your children, whatever it may be. Look at those different areas of your life and identify what are those things that you've been really trying to make work and they just don't work. They don't bring you peace. they don't bring you joy. You don't feel light. It's a burden. You feel all nauseous and yucky on the inside every time you have to think about doing it or interacting with this person or whatever it may be. Ugh. Okay? Look at the different areas of your life and identify what in those areas of your life is either causing you distress or unhappiness or discontent, or you don't really want it, but you want it because other people say you're supposed to want it. What are those things? Okay. Build up some awareness of those things in your life. So write that down and then identify for yourself, like, where does this even come from? Okay. So an example that I use a lot is romantic relationships. Okay. We are told some unhealthy shit when it comes to romantic relationships and the things that you have to deal with in romantic relationships. Okay. So a lot of times what we do in our relationships is we'll cope and tolerate the things that we really don't want, the characteristics we really don't want a partner, the way that we feel while we're with that person. You just kind of brush it off and be like, that's relationships, Not to say every day in a relationship is going to be sunshine and roses and it's, completely happy every day, but you won't constantly find yourself compromising and silencing and sacrificing and diminishing yourself just to be in this relationship. Okay. So what that looks like in actuality is, like, say you started dating someone 3-4 years ago, right? And it started nice. Okay, it started all right. But now it's just weird, right? It like he not really in it, you not really in it, or they're not really in it, you're not really in it. Y'all don't talk. When you do talk, it's an argument. The person makes promises, but they don't keep them. Or let's say that you are, just dating around and you find that you keep meeting the same type of person. Like, you keep meeting someone who is non-committed, right? Like he says he wants to be committed, but like he won't actually put it into practice and do the actions. Or someone who has like integrity issues. Like they say that they're going to do something, but then when it's actually time to do it, they don't show up. They don't do it, right? Those are things to identify that just are not serving you in your life. Okay. Hope this makes sense. If it's your finances, for example, you find that you ain't never got done. Okay. Something about you and your finances is not serving you, whether it be discipline, irrational spending, impulsive spending, a lack of budget, maybe you're living out of your means. I don't know. Okay. But something about that just is not serving you. Okay. So you take a moment, you sit down, you pause, and you look at each segment of your life and identify what is not serving me. Okay. Then the second thing is, do you have the tools and the capacity to change? Okay. Change is not easy, which is why a lot of us don't do it. Okay. It takes work. It takes determination. It takes perseverance. All right. And not a lot of us have that. I mean, we want life to be easy. We want to make a choice to decide, like, I'm going to change this thing in my life, and then just wake up the next day and it's just magically changed. Okay. That's not how change works. It's not how it works. Okay. Change kind of goes like this. Like, you will pre-contemplate, like, I could change that. Like, I could start a budget, or I could, stop dating that person, or I could consider getting out of this relationship, or setting that boundary with my mother. I could do that. Okay, that's the pre-contemplation of it. Bless you. That's my dog. So that's the pre-contemplation where you kind of like, that'd be nice to change. And then you actually go into the contemplation of it, where you allow yourself to sit and say, okay, if I change this thing, what would that look like? Like, if I implemented a budget into my weekly routine, if I was more conscious about my spending, if I did say no to dating that person who has integrity issues, if I did decide to, have a difficult conversation with my partner and say, I'm not really happy anymore. If I did have that conversation, okay, and again, this is contemplation. If I did do this thing, what would happen? What could happen? What might happen? Usually in this place, you'll find like whatever's been holding you back start to come up, okay? Whether it be your fears, your emotions of sadness or anger or discontent or confusion, like whatever it is that you've been kind of holding down so that you could continue to cope and keep things as they were before, will start to come up at this stage of change, okay? Now, from there, you can either decide, nope, don't want to do it, and you go back to the old pattern. But let me just tell you, you can't unthink the thoughts that you thought during the pre-contemplation, okay? So something shifts, okay? You can't undo that part, right? Or you can choose to move to the next step, which is actually like implementing the change, okay? You start changing yourself, for example, like you start you tell fear like challenge accepted, and you start working with the budget. You start seeing what being more mindful about your spending actually looks like. What does it feel like? How do I do this? How do I do it? You have a conversation with the person that you've been in a relationship with to let them know what you need in the relationship and what needs to change. You set the boundaries, or you even identify what the boundary is with your loved one. And so you actually start taking baby steps to implement things. Now, the implementation stage is usually, it's got like lots of myths around it, okay? Number one, people tell you things will be easy. I will not ever lie to you. This is not easy, okay? This will not be easy. Okay, it will probably be worth it in the end at some point down the line, but easy? No. Okay, no. It will require for you to be very courageous. It will require for you to advocate for yourself, okay, which a lot of us are taught is a selfish thing to do. I agree, it is a selfish thing to do, but not all selfish things are negative. Selfish things, okay? Just because I put up a boundary for me or change a part of my life, that's not a threat to you. It's a choice to nourish me. Why is me nourishing me triggering to you? Okay? Think about that. If somebody tells you you're being selfish, tell them come watch this video, okay? And be like, yes, I am being selfish. Welcome to change, okay? So that implementation part, society tells us it's supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be quick. It's not quick, okay? It's something that takes change because you're in transition. You're saying, I'm letting go of these old parts of my life that just are not cultivating the life that I want, and I'm allowing myself to capture something new, try something new. It might work, it might not work, but at least I'm not doing this old thing that I know doesn't work, okay? So it takes time. Give it time. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself some grace, okay? And if you don't know how to do that, then this is a wonderful opportunity for you to learn, okay? So that's the implementation phase. And then you actually start to see things shifting a bit, okay? You will find yourself in a familiar situation, but you feel differently about it. And you may not catch it immediately. Like you may not change or implement the new behavior or the new mindset or the new boundary immediately, but you realize like, oh, it happened. Okay. And in that phase, a lot of your shame and your internal dialogue shows up, and we can kind of be our own worst critic in this place, telling ourselves, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, blah, blah, blah. Recognize this is just part of change. Okay. When we first implement things, for the first few times that it shows up, we're going to miss it. Okay. And it's not really us missing it. It's just us building awareness of it and kind of closing that awareness gap. And then you'll know once it's closed. Okay. So as the situation comes up, as the opportunity for a difficult conversation, as the choices for your spending, or decisions with your children, or opportunities to contain your anger. As that comes up, you'll find that the more and more it happens, and the more you stay committed to this change and choice to release what's no longer serving you, the easier and easier it is to catch it. Okay, so as you catch it, eventually there will be a time where the moment will present itself, and you'll be in the moment, and the awareness will come up, and you'll be like, oh, I don't do that anymore. Oh, I don't yell like that anymore, because that's not serving me in my relationships. I don't spend impulsively anymore because I enjoy having savings. I don't overexert myself for other people who don't appreciate it anymore, because then that makes me feel bad, right? And so you'll start to see and really feel yourself changing in the moment. And then you will know you've changed when you're on the other side of it, and you remember, oh, this happened yesterday and I responded differently. Usually when people, spontaneously ask me for $100 for the week, I just say yes and keep going. But I said, no, I didn't have it. And that was it. And then it was over. I've released what's no longer serving me. Okay? It is a process of change. It is a process of transformation. And again, it is not easy. I will not lie to you and tell you this will be easy. Oh, but it's so worth it on the other side when you recognize how you've shown up for yourself, and you're just like, okay, me, I did that. I said no. I said maybe later. I said I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I said no to the hot guy who I really, really want this to work, but he got integrity issues, okay? And I took care of me. And I feel good that I took care of me. And that's when life begins to transform, and you begin to feel more nourished in your life. You begin to feel more protected, more safe. It's sometimes the things that you allow into your life that do the most damage, okay? And a lot of us are told that we're supposed to allow these things to happen. Not anymore. No, you get to take care of you, okay? So, are there things that you need to release in your life? Let it go, okay? Either shift it, set up some boundaries, or like I said earlier, light that shit on fire and throw it out the window, okay? Whatever it may be, give yourself a moment, give yourself some time. Take out your journal, pause, allow yourself to identify these different segments of your life. What's not serving you, and what are the things that you want to work on, and then allow yourself to commit to the process of change, okay? And eventually at some point, again, not an easy point, but it's eventually at some point you will realize you're on the other side of change, and what you were working on trying to implement is now implemented, and your life feels more nourished. That's the hope. That's the goal. Give you some freedom. Freedom is the goal, okay? I hope this helps. If it does, please leave some comments down in the description box or in the comments box. If you have any additional questions, or if you tried this and it's worked, or you tried it in the past and you're still doing it, you got some things you want to share with the people, please do down below, okay? And remember, the workbook is linked down in the description box if you need a reference for your journaling or anything like that. I hope that you can implement this into your life. Use this as a tool so that you can live your best life. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.